Your blood pressure, heart rate, and electrodermal activity are all elevated.
So what?
My data suggests you are experiencing anxiety.
Is this what anxious feels like?
Technically.
I'm going home.
Master Chief and Dr. Halsey arrive at Eridanis 2 and drive to the location of John's childhood home. John maps out the rough area where the larger artifact may have been buried and begins to dig. After a few unsuccessful attempts, he manages to unearth an old box filled with drawings he made as a boy. Among them is one he fails to recognize, depicting a circular object of some sort. Despite Halsey's insistence that they analyze the drawings back on the ship, John strides over to the remains of his old house. Meanwhile, Soren, using his skills as a space pirate, sneaks himself and 𝐒𝐞𝐚 onto Madrigal undetected. They make their way into Madrigal City, the seat of Governor Venture's power, and manage to meet with 𝐂, an acquaintance of 𝐒𝐞𝐚. Though visibly nervous to be seen talking to her, 𝐂 tells 𝐒𝐞𝐚 to come to her father's memorial if she wishes to meet with his generals. As 𝐂 runs off, Soren calls 𝐒𝐞𝐚's attention to a nearby poster, advertising a reward for anyone who aids in her capture, which only serves to strengthen her resolve. Later that day, they go to the memorial, which to 𝐒𝐞𝐚's displeasure is only a tiny gathering. She spots one of Jinha's generals, Agatha, and asks for information on the remains of the resistance. To her dismay, she learns that most of the generals were executed by Venture, and that people's appetite for rebellion has been stifled after learning of the Covenant threat. Resentful, 𝐒𝐞𝐚 begins to accuse Agatha and everyone else at the gathering of being cowards and traitors. All of a sudden, Venture's security forces crash the memorial and begin assaulting everyone. Soren grabs 𝐒𝐞𝐚 and forces her to leave, though not before she manages to steal a weapon from one of the soldiers. They try to get back to their ship, but upon scouting from a distance, find it being ransacked by Venture's forces. 𝐒𝐞𝐚 convinces Soren to take her to meet her aunt 𝐄𝐩𝐢n, with the promise that 𝐄𝐩𝐢n will pay him for all his troubles. They soon find her, and after a brief confrontation with her guards, 𝐒𝐞𝐚 and 𝐄𝐩𝐢n move to a room to have a private conversation, while Soren leaves to secure a way off the planet. 𝐒𝐞𝐚 asks 𝐄𝐩𝐢n for funds to secure a fighting force and rekindle the revolution, but 𝐄𝐩𝐢n reveals that Jin had already spent most of their money during the rebellion. 𝐄𝐩𝐢n tries to get 𝐒𝐞𝐚 to leave town, but she stubbornly insists on staying to fight for her father's legacy. Frustrated, 𝐄𝐩𝐢n reveals that the real reason Jin was such an ardent revolutionary was not because of his love for the people of Madrigal. It was because he met a group of mystics in the desert many years ago and returned convinced that freeing Madrigal was the only way for the Ha family's true purpose to be revealed. 𝐒𝐞𝐚 asks 𝐄𝐩𝐢n for the location of these mystics, but their conversation is interrupted by Franco, an assassin sent by Venture to eliminate 𝐒𝐞𝐚. Her attempt is thwarted by Soren, but not before she manages to kill 𝐄𝐩𝐢n. Soren drags 𝐒𝐞𝐚 away from 𝐄𝐩𝐢n's lifeless body, and the two flee from the scene. Before they can get far, they are attacked by Venture's forces. After some skillful bike maneuvering and shooting, Soren manages to give them the slip, and the two escape out of town. En reach, Kai follows Master Chief's example and removes her emotional regulator pellet. Under the influence of her previously blunted emotions, she decides to dye a part of her hair. Later, Kai, along with Vanek and Riz, the other two Spartans on Master Chief's team, is called in by Miranda Keyes to study if any of the other Spartans cause the keystone to react. They each touch the artifact individually, but fail to cause any reaction. During Kai's turn, she removes her helmet for Miranda to place monitoring equipment on her head, and Miranda makes note of Kai's new look, finding the act of such self-expression odd coming from a Spartan. Kai, energized by her new outlook, in turn points to Miranda's view of the Spartans as machines to be reductive and ignorant. The trio then follows Miranda to her Covenant research lab for further testing, all of which proves to be fruitless. However, listening to the Spartans' idle conversations causes Miranda to realize that their knowledge of the Covenant language, a consequence of their regular confrontations with the aliens, could help fill a massive gap in the UNSC's current level of understanding. Excited, she asks them to teach her all of the words they know of the Covenant's 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐲 language. After integrating the Spartans' insight with the UNSC's existing intelligence on 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐬𝐬, Miranda and Kai analyze a Covenant broadcast intercepted from the UNSC patrol ship commandeered by 𝐒𝐞𝐬𝐬. From the transmission, they identify a new word that they manage to translate as referring to some sort of sacred ring, or halo. Kai, remembering the incident on Madrigal with Master Chief, asks Miranda to pull up Master Chief's HUD data from when he first touched the artifact. She points out that the object produced a ring of light, perhaps indicating the very thing the Covenant had been searching for all this time. Miranda asks Kai to keep this discovery a secret from Halsey for the time being, to which Kai agrees. Back at Eridonis 2, Master Chief asks Cortana to help recreate a simulation of how his house would have looked like during his childhood. The recreation helps jog his memories, and he begins to recall events beyond what he saw in his visions, much to Dr. Halsey's visible discomfort. This includes a memory of finding and touching the larger keystone deep within a cavern, as well as one of Halsey visiting him in the home during his childhood. Confused, he confronts Halsey, who attempts to assure him this was simply a false memory, and that they first met after he was orphaned. Though unconvinced by this explanation, John notifies her of the other keystones' whereabouts and drives them to the location in his memory. The two slip into a cave system and wander through the passages until they finally reach their goal, a large open room containing the second and larger keystone.